you see football Twitter. You see Michigan football Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw it when Michigan State was beating them, when they were good a couple of years ago. And it was, just the most inane conversations. Not even conversations, just like banners. And then one side's banners, one side's, well, like scoreboard this year. And then they're like, well, whatever about scoreboard, here's banners. And then they come back with scoreboard, and like it just never stops. They're just like throwing rocks at each other.
Yeah, pretty much. If roles were reversed, I would have fun with it, but I would also let people know, like, hey, look, they voted on this. This is how it goes. It is what it is. It sucks, but that's how it goes this year.
Yeah, I guess.
But I definitely have fun with it.
No, your fun never stops. I stay out of it. I don't know. And Brendan, I don't know how you stay out of it. You get a lot of flack.
No, he got in there yesterday, and I retweeted the hell out of that
last night. I got hammered last night. While Gonzaga was losing, I tweeted, Gonzaga better be careful or Illinois is going to claim the WCC championship too.
I retweeted that so fast, dude.
Man, it got really bad. It was one of those, like, you just do it and you just don't even think twice. And I was like eating dinner here where I'm in Jacksonville for work. And I just like put my phone down, and I have like all my notifications turned off on Twitter for like mental health purposes,
Smart.
So I just put my phone down, and I'm reading a book, eating. I check my phone like 10 minutes later. I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna be a thing. It was already just wildfire, and yeah, it went downhill from there. So
that was hilarious. That was so funny. I'm like, I'm about to spread this to the masses and see what happens.
I didn't even realize Gonzaga Twitter had it like that.
No, it was Illinois Twitter. Gonzaga doesn't care.
Oh.
Gonzaga fans are wild too. I'm telling you.
It's all inferior. It's all just layers of inferiority complex.
That's all it is.
Michigan has an inferiority complex to Ohio State in terms of football, right? Michigan State has an inferiority complex. This school has an inferiority complex. I went to Little Ass St. Joe's in Philly, right? Inferiority complex to Villanova. LaSalle has an inferiority complex to LaSalle, and it just makes everyone crazy people.
And if you're on top, you have an inferiority complex to losing. And that drives them insane.
Anyone even questioning your superiority, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I don't know what IU basketball is, because they have a inferiority complex. And
I know that you guys have a lot of fans out there. Y'all got a lot of fans, but I haven't heard from them in a long, long time.
They stay pretty quiet. It's a lot of, they packed that house with a lot of old people from Bloomington who don't even know Twitter.
Stand up, old people. Yeah, that's the greatest chant when playing.
We played there during winter break, and that place was still about half full, even when they sucked.
Yeah.
It was just all townies, and I really appreciated it.
Yeah, most definitely.
All right, I want to get into some Michigan basketball, obviously. We got Juwan Howard, Coach of the Year, Big Ten champs, blah, 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 lost to Michigan State. We can kind of dissect some of that stuff. The one thing I want to get into, and Brendan, you tweeted about it today, is Eli Brooks' injury. And if you know anything inside with that, you said he was still in a boot, and maybe what their plans are, if you've heard anything.
In terms of news, I'm on the same island as everyone else. I've reached out to, family and stuff like that, and they've all been, this is a Michigan thing. Whatever they want to put out, they can put out. So, I know there's been stuff on message boards or whatever, but as far as I know, it's in a boot, and I'd be highly surprised if he plays this week. I don't see any reason to do that at all. If I'm Michigan, my big hope is second weekend of the NCAA tournament, he can be on the court. Doesn't need to be 100%, right? But as long as he can just move the ball and play defense, it's better than the alternative.
Yeah.
And are you going to be surprised if second weekend though? I'm a little shocked by that. Is that what we're looking at with the severity?
If it's a low sprain, then I think it depends on how severe it is. Because I've come back off of after 2 days.
Yeah.
But then other times it's taken me 4 or 5 weeks. So If it's a high sprain, it may take a little bit longer. If it's a lower sprain, then you're not going to take that much time off. So it all depends on the severity, where the actual sprain is, and where did he get hurt at.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If it's bad, your hope is that you can just at least have him on the court for a second. If it's not that bad, of course, it'd be great if he can play this week, whatever.
Right.
But if it's a high ankle, if it's a worst case scenario thing, I'm just thinking you're just holding your breath, hoping that he can at least be out there for the second weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Before we get into some more of that, I just remember one of my favorite Belein stories is it's like the NCAA tournament, and when Michigan State with Magic Johnson, they won the championship. And Belein loves telling the story about rehabbing and guys, when you get hurt, you got to rehab hard and commit to it like a basketball practice, like anything else. And he tells a story of Magic Johnson sprained his ankle and he was in treatment for 24 hours for the next game, and he was in the boot for 24 hours, and that's why he got better. He was supposed to be up from. I'm like, I don't think that's how that works. Like, time, either he was just not that hurt, or he's just he took some magic potion. But I was like, yeah, injuries, coaches and injuries is always a funny thing.
I will say this though, one of my first Belein quotes that I remember is we were in like the third day of practice ever with him. I don't think you were there yet, Stu.
No.
And he goes, "You don't get injured." Literally, just goes, "You don't get injured." Like, don't get injured. And it made sense because there were guys fighting for a rotation spot.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, he didn't know who was what. And, he was still going through things. And he's like, "Look, if you get injured, I'm just going to go to the next guy and I may forget about you." So his whole thing was don't get injured.
Every year it was a explanation of what being hurt is versus what being injured is. Because he's like, I don't want any soft asses on my team. Like, if you're hurt, whatever. If you're injured, it's different. I'm like, I can understand that.
At this point, everybody's hurt to some degree, whether you have a hip pointer or your IT is messed up. It's something.
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys this, as someone who has personally gone back and looked into what John was like as a high school player and as a division, whatever it was, two or three college basketball player, when he would say things to you, were you at any point were you guys like, "Hey man, what kind of player were you? Did you play injured or hurt, or what was your deal while you were down there at Wheeling?"
Every single time he opened his mouth, like something small. So I was always between 225 and 240. Stu was always 180, and he did not understand that him and I can eat and drink the same thing, but I would gain 10 times more than he would. You know what I mean?
Or that ant can run a mile in 5:30 or something like.
Yeah, so it's unreal. It's unreal. He thinks it's like all the same. He was like, it's easy to do this or do that. I'm like, no, man, you don't understand science, my guy. No disrespect. Like, dude is smart as a whip. Dude is smart as hell. Probably one of the smartest people I've ever known. But man, he has some interesting takes. He would get. If he tweeted half the things that he said, his whole Twitter would be ratioed.
I keep saying that he gets on air, he's calling these games, and if he was half as funny as he is in real life, I mean, he would be one of the best color guys in all of college basketball.
I totally agree. He needs to break out of what he thinks the television guy should sound like mode and just be himself. He'll
kill it.
I think he'll. I mean, if he keeps doing it, I think he'll get there.
Yeah,
he doesn't curse. He doesn't cuss.
Playing to come
He's
back.
Always chill.
I think he'll coach, but yeah, right.
Seems like.
But